Hello, everyone. Welcome to the ATA Advantage. This month's webinar is the Specials Effect, Learning Amplified. My name is Josh Meibos. I was a physical education teacher for just over 10 years, and now I'm the beginning teacher program director here at the Arizona K12 Center. I've been in education for about 15 years here in Arizona. I'm a Utah native, and I'm also a national board certified teacher in early middle childhood physical education. I first achieved in 2017 and maintained my certification in 2022. And in 2018, I was honored to be recognized as Arizona's Teacher of the Year, which was also Arizona's first physical education Teacher of the Year. And before we get started, I want to share a photo with you of when I was teaching elementary PE. This is, I believe, a first grade lesson. It was a toss and catch lesson. But I want to point out some things that you can see in my learning environment in the gym here. Just under the bear, you can see a big yellow poster, and on it says, "No one has the right to interfere with the learning, safety, and well-being of others." And this was a school-wide initiative that I wanted to make visible and to have students, all the students at the school who came to PE, which was all of them, over 500 kids came in. We talked about it and signed it. So it was a consistent value that was taught throughout the school. Speaking of values, there in the very back wall, you can see a big poster with a bunch of colored words on it. That is our physical education values. And what I did was I just took some values from the school and I added some PE specific values to it, like sportsmanship. And I wanted to also make that visible to all the students as kind of a directive, our North Star on our values when we are in class. And then lastly, across from that, you can see a blue poster with the number 5 on it. And that was the 5 components of fitness. And this was some academic literacy being on the walls and visible, especially for our older students in the 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. And it's our 5 components of fitness of flexibility, cardiovascular, body composition, muscle strength, and muscle endurance. So I use the wall space intentionally and sparingly, but I wanted to point out those things in the photo. What you don't see is routines and procedures. As you know, all the students come through PE not very often. And behind where this picture is being taken, there is a line on the gym floor that the students knew that's where they lined up. That's where the classroom teachers brought them. And that they were there before class started, and we would take a collective breath before we started class. We would review what we talked about or what we participated in the week before. And I would also use this time as an introduction to the what, the why, and the how we are going to be participating in PE today. Over by on the other side of the gym, by the 5 components of fitness, is another line on the gym floor that we utilized, and students knew that's where we lined up to go back to class. And I would get them lined up before the teacher would come. Again, we would take a collective breath to just symbolize that PE was over. We would review the day. I would use this time for perhaps a quick formative assessment. Maybe it was verbal, maybe it was they showed me. But I would use that time intentionally to get the students collectively together to wrap up our time together and get them set up to go back to class for their classroom teacher, which was a great uh, system to use that really built and strengthened my relationship with classroom teachers and really helped the students mentally prepare for what was coming on for their day to come. So what I want to do is spend our time together and just share, keep going with that idea and share a little bit into our specials world, a little bit into, I picked 3: art, music, and physical education. These are core subjects, especially in our elementary school. These are classes that our students oftentimes love to go to. And I want to spend some time to uh, just share um, what is happening in our art, music, and PE classes. I also want to talk about some integrated learning opportunities, what that means, the purposes and benefits that can bring, and then wrap up with sharing some best teaching practices. If you do move forward with this cross-curricular collaboration idea, what are some best practices and an action plan to support you moving forward? So before we get started, we have our core special classes. We have our art, our music, and PE. I don't mind the word specials. I think it's actually uh, special in itself because they are specialty areas. They're taught by certified um, specialty teachers in that content area, excuse me. These are often your art teachers, are artists themselves. Your music teachers are musicians themselves. Your PE teachers are often those that participated in athletic sports. And they are passionate about teaching it, and they provide such a rich, continuing learning opportunity for our students. When thinking about this, as I mentioned before, being a national board certified teacher in early middle childhood physical education, I was reminded of the 5 core propositions of national board certification. And it really does align to the truth of our special area teachers. 1, we are committed to our students and their learning. And 2, we know our subjects. And beyond that, we know how to teach them to our students. 3, we are teachers who are responsible for managing and monitoring student learning. 4, we think systematically about our practice, about our content area, and we learn from those experiences. And then finally, 5, which is probably my favorite for a special area teacher, is we are members of the learning community. So thinking about the purpose of special areas, we have just how it supports that whole child, and then also some of the considerations to think about that is happening in our special area classes. And I'm reminded of what Sir Ken Robinson once said, which was learning happens creatively, and it supports mental learning, it stimulates students, it provokes students' thinking, it engages our students, and its education is all about learning. Then, if there's no learning, then there's no education. And I think our special area classes help supports that extended learning opportunities and that continuous learning opportunities on our campuses. So I want to share a little bit of our art class, our music class, and our PE class, and share a little bit about those standards that we talked about and some developmenting focuses. So in art, you have a standard framework, which is the National Core Art Standard, the NCAS. And our art teachers, they are responsible for teaching 4 standards. We have the creating standard, the 3P standard, which is presenting, performing, and producing. You have the responding standard, and then we have that connection standard. To go along with that, we have our developmental focuses. In K2, it's all about exploration. And I'm thinking about Sir Ken Robinson's words of provoking and stimulating and engaging. And this is where you get the students excited in that K2 exploration phase. Then we have a developmental focus moving into the planning and refining their choices. And then you have the expression and reflection. I also want to point out at the bottom there, we have a standards link. And in this link, you can click on that and it's sharing everything that I'm sharing with you with our art, our music, and PE classes, standard frameworks, and developmental focuses. Next, we have music. And again, music, their standard framework is the National Association for Music Education. and again, responsible for our three standards of creating, performing, and responding. A developmental focus in music, we have our K2, again, the exploration phase, which is singing, um, steady beat, movement, simple instruments. I'm thinking percussion, I'm thinking drums, I'm thinking the recorder. Then we have our 3-5, reading, ensemble, and understanding. And this could be beginning to read those A, B notes. It could be the ensemble of vocals, of singing together. And it could also be the ensemble of instruments together. And then finally, that 6-8 developmental focus, which is more of that composition, putting it together, performing, and analyzing work. And then the physical education, more of my wheelhouse. We have our standard framework of Shape America standards, which is the national umbrella for the majority of states that adopt these standards. Arizona has adopted the Shape America standards, which are motor skills, knowledge, our social skills, and then our personal understanding and application. Developmental focus, which would be our K2 fundamental movements. So think locomotor skills, running, jumping, hopping, skipping, sliding. There's also elements of balance. And then there's also this element of the fundamental movements of understanding space with themselves and with others, understanding effort, and then understanding the relationship that they have with pieces of equipment, the relationship with tossing and catching, a hula hoop, a jump rope, and filling that out and developing their own personality with those pieces of equipment. Then we move more into our combination skills. So once I've had that exploration, developmental focus, then they move into a focus of combining more of them, putting them together, what that looks like lead up games into sports, what that looks like with relationships of working together as a team. And then you get more into that 6-8 personal fitness focus, which is a little bit more of understanding goals, goal setting, personal fitness, and then your relationship with health and wellness. And again, there at the bottom is um, a link that you can click, and it has all of this prepared for you. So taking what we now understand just really briefly, and I understand it's pretty nuanced with standards and developmental focus with art, music, and PE, but given that brief window of understanding, I want to move into some cross-curricular collaboration ideas and the benefits and purpose that this collaboration can bring. So first, I want to talk a little bit about the purpose of cross-curricular collaboration. And I think that really kind of goes back also to the idea of the 5 core propositions, and one of them is knowing their subjects and they know how to teach them. That's truth to be said of um, in our homeroom, in our academic core subjects of math and reading. These are your reading specialists. They know their subjects and they know how to teach them. So thinking that you have these specialty teachers, you have these experts on your campus, why not go forward and explore with cross-curricular collaboration to provide that extra learning and that opportunity for our students to learn beyond the classroom. So first you have a benefit, which is it makes the learning relevant. This is really helping the students bringing engagement. I know that when I know the purpose of what I'm doing and it's relevant to something in my life, then I'm a little more engaged, I have more buy-in, and I have a little bit more effort. Then we move on to it promotes a deeper understanding. And this, again, helps the students understand just a little bit more of application. So I'm thinking of collaboration of music and fractions and counting the beats, the patterns, the steadiness. I'm also thinking of a deeper understanding of reading when you're trying to identify characters, when you're trying to identify um, you're learning something upon the world, and then there's an opportunity to perhaps draw or to create some sort of art composition that complements that, so students know how to apply what they're learning and what they're reading about, and they can put a visual to it as well. And it also encourages that rigorous high level thinking, of problem solving. For example, I know that we do in PE when we're taking a resting or an active heart rate. We are counting, we are multiplying, we are predicting. This is all language that's happening perhaps in a math classroom. Next, we have it supports that transfer of learning. So think about what we were just talking about, and it really helps cross that curriculum, excuse me. But I think it also helps students transfer that subjects are not isolated in just one block of time, in one four walls of a classroom, that it happens everywhere, that it can happen playing outside. It can happen when you are playing games or when you're drawing or when you're writing, and really kind of promotes that out of box thinking. The complements of the whole child development, as we talked about, it really going back to the words of Sir Robinson, it's provoking, it's engaging, but it's for all of our senses, for those visual learners, for those audible learners, for those kinesthetic learners. It allows for individual expressions, and it strengthens that academic and that character. For example, I'm thinking when there's something to be said about comprehension of reading and then knowing every lyric to every word in a song. I'm impressed by how students can just sing the words to a song and they remember it. And then they read a paragraph and they struggle. There's something to be said about there's that music that connects the two and helps that development of comprehension, of remembering something. And then also it encourages teacher unity. As I mentioned, in being experts and specialists in our fields, whether it's a writing expert, math expert, or an artist or a musician, it helps students see that also is not isolated within that classroom, and that there is collaboration happening amongst teachers. And that's exactly what we want our students to be doing with one another as well. I think it encourages, um, enhances school culture. I think that when you have collaboration and you see it on a bulletin board or you see it being played out or performed, I think that's something special that can really enhance the school inclusive culture that you're looking for, and creating that learning community that every student wants to be a part of. This I'm also reminded of when I would have students after school playing after school sports at a game, and their classroom teacher comes out. As you see most times, that's huge for them to see that they're taking an interest in them, and they can see their efforts outside of their classroom as well. With that being said, one of my favorite things as a PE teacher was during Read Across America Week was to go into classrooms and read with the younger grade levels. And I think it really helped them see that my PE teacher is coming in and reading with us with our classroom teacher, which I thought was really, really special. And then finally, it prepares our students for the real world. Again, it brings that connection of why we are learning this. I think it also helps going back to the idea of flexible thinking. Brings that idea of being a flexible person when you're working with teammates, how to problem solve, how to persevere through a problem. And I think these are all some very important skills that we can provide in our specialty classes, that can also help their academic learning, which ultimately helps them in the real world. So with that idea, I want to share 6 best teaching practices. Again, there's a link at the bottom there that goes a little bit deeper into um, the 6 that I'm about to share. But the first one is just a shared purpose and alignment. So when you are thinking of this cross-curricular collaboration idea, think of the goal in mind. Think of what is the learning objective, the learning target that I'm trying to achieve. And that goes for both the specialty class and also the homeroom teacher. Perhaps there's 2 standards, a development that you're trying to hone in on, or a learning target that is clear for you and the student. Next to think about is timing and communication. I think this is critical. I think this is important to understand that oftentimes our specialty area class is a teacher who sees every student in the school. Um, so we're talking, in most cases, hundreds of kids. Oftentimes it's once, maybe twice a week. And even if that, it could be 30 to 45 minutes, 50 if we're lucky. So the timing and preparation for cross collaboration is something to think about. For classroom teachers, I'm thinking they have teacher teams that they work with, grade band teams that they work with. They're working with continuum maps. They're doing testing. And so there really is some intentional planning and communication that needs to happen beforehand. Another best practice is just this mutual respect for disciplines. And this I've mentioned before is just understanding that our specialty area teachers they have the pedagogy down. They have the standards. They know their subjects. They often perform their subjects, whether it's an art or music or it's a physical performance. And then also for our classroom teachers as well, that they are this expert in understanding how to teach math, how to teach writing, how to teach reading, and that mutual respect for the disciplines not only is conveyed amongst our teacher team and brings a sense of unity, but I think that's also illuminates to our students and they can see that collaboration and respect as well. Student-centered and differentiation. So I think of this best practice of thinking about bowling where you have, I call it the 7-10 split. And I was taught once that you can bowl the ball down the middle and you can get most of the pins every time, but you're always going to have that 7-10 on each side. And I think when you move forward with intentional planning of how to get that 7-10, that 10 may be your gifted students on one end that need a little bit more of a challenge and a push. And then you have the 7 on the other side of a student that perhaps needs more support. Um, this is where it comes into being intentional of what I can do to keep this collaboration centered around the students, individualize it, personalize it, and perhaps bring some differentiation into it to support that student. I'm thinking of an example of of a student I had who in the 4th grade and the mile run, and they just did not like doing the mile run. However, they were an excellent writer. Their teacher acknowledged this, and the teacher asked if there was some opportunity for them to write a reflection piece of their performance. We planned it out. We understood the standard. We got our goal. We talked about it. We knew when this was going to happen throughout the year. And it really boosted the students' emotion in their writing. Um, it not only made them feel like they were being very successful in both subjects, but they looked forward to performing in PE because they knew they were going to be able to then show their strength in writing. I also think of this as a time for students to as I mentioned, to feel empowered and feel successful in every subject in the school. It also gives us a chance to understand, as a special area teacher, how students are in a classroom and vice versa. Sometimes a student who is perhaps a management challenge in your homeroom class is oftentimes a special area teacher's rock star. And I think that this planning can really be centered for those students to feel successful across all disciplines. Assess and reflect. Know how you are going to assess um, the success of the student and the work that they are going to do. Know how you are for both teachers. Again, what is the learning target? What is the goal? How is it aligned to standards? And then, if you can, even students can help you create this rubric of what does success look like. Perhaps it's two different standards you are trying to get in a classroom and in a PE or a special area classroom. And then allow yourself for some reflection on how to improve if you move forward with doing this lesson again, or perhaps expanding it a little bit. And then finally, a best practice is to celebrate and share. I think that we have so much opportunity to highlight and to spotlight work that teachers are doing together. I think that nothing makes a student more proud when they see that their work is on display for everyone to see. I think that we have numerous outlets, whether it is a report at a district meeting, whether it is a newsletter that goes out, a website that we can share work on, social media platforms, if your school has one, that use all of these outlets to show that learning is happening everywhere at the school, and this is how it is. So before I leave, I want to leave you with again an action plan to just get some thinking going. Hopefully, as you've been watching, your ideas have been popping in of some possible opportunities, or perhaps even on the other side, some lessons that you've already done, or some cross collaboration that you've successfully tried with other teachers on your campuses. So as you can see there at the bottom, I have two links. I have an action plan link, which will give you this exact action plan that you see here on the screen. I've separated it into three sections. You have our specialty teacher at the top, our core subject teacher, and then a reflection piece for both on the bottom. And these are really just some questions, again, to spark the idea of what is it about cross-curricular learning that I like? What do I don't understand? Concerns, some roadblocks. How would I overcome that? Evidence, what am I trying to achieve here? What's my learning target? How can I show that students have achieved it? And then who is it on campus that I could, give a first step and try this out with a teacher? Perhaps there's an art teacher, music, PE teacher that you get along with, that students love their class. This would be a good opportunity to reach out and say, hey, I have a math unit coming up, or I have a writing assignment that I want the students to think about, and see if there's opportunities within each other's curriculum that you can identify, a first step, or a first idea or project that you can come up with together. If you do have some ideas of things that you brought into your classroom, that is a first step of cross collaboration, cross-curricular collaboration, excuse me. Down here also at the bottom, I have a shared ideas, and I created a document that you can take pictures and you can post on there and share that with others to see how they have, how this looks in their class. It's part of that celebrate and share part. I started it off. I have three just small examples that I've done. One, I remember going into classroom, and I remember seeing word walls, and I thought we have a focus of PE words every day there is a word that we're focused on. And I created our own physical education word wall. Then it turned into teachers seeing that and saying, well, these are some sight words that we have. So then we start identifying them as sight words for those classes that it applied to. Another example was understanding vowels and consonants for the little guys. And I remember I brought in some chart paper, and at each station, the students would have to write and copy my handwriting at the station. So I think there's an example of the word balance. And the students would have to write I think it was the B and the D idea, and the students would have to write it before they went to that station to balance. So again, these are just some small ideas that really helped us move into this idea of uh, bringing this learning ecosystem together and helping students understand that they're being stimulated, they're being provoked, they're being an opportunity to be creative anywhere in their school. So thank you for your time. My information is down there at the bottom. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions or ideas. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for being a teacher, and I'll see you soon.